Ales. My name is Matthew Barton. Welcome to the Rebellion Brewing Podcast. One of Saskatchewan's most consistent and reliable breweries is Nokomis Craft Ales. I've long been a fan of Jeff Allport and his team, and pound for pound, they are knocking out the competition. When I'm standing at the liquor store looking at the beer wall, I just know when I grab something from Nokomis, it's going to be high quality. And when you're paying a premium price, you shouldn't have to guess. You shouldn't have to compromise. That's one of the things that makes Nokomis great. And I haven't even started talking about their barrel-aged sours. So let's get into it. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
I'm glad I finally got you on. I think it's been 3 years of me kind of bugging you.
I don't remember seeing an invite previously, but no, I'm happy to do it. And obviously, yeah, technology makes it a lot easier, I guess.
Previously, I had Erin Bearwald on the podcast, and she was fantastic. It was one of my most favorite episodes, talking all about bats.
Cool, bats and beer.
I guess for the uninitiated or for people who are just getting into craft beer, can we tell them what Nokomis' origin story is?
Well, we're now in our 7th year. Yeah, it'll be seven years this summer since opening in July of 2014. So that was same year Rebellion opened and Blackbridge as well. So there's a little blip there in 2014 with a few breweries opening up. We started as a very, very small. At the time, I didn't really know what the market was like. There's only the Bushwhacker Brew Pub and then Paddockwood in Saskatoon. I think Prairie Sun also had just opened just previous to us, and District as well. But at the time it was it was kind of unknown on what would happen in the industry in the province. And so being one not to stick my neck out too far, we started as kind of just myself brewing 1 or 2 batches a week, all into kegs, doing growler fills at the farmer's market and at the brewery itself. And then sort of as the industry grew in the province and as regulations changed, that enabled us to kind of grow organically in a way. We just sort of added tanks and whatnot as the demand increased. It wasn't that we went on a huge expansion, stuck our necks out and then have to try to fill that capacity. It was always just done as the demand was there to add on. So now we're a team of 6. As you know, we have cans distributed throughout the province, and then still have those tap accounts as well. And even though I guess the last year draft sales have dropped off quite a bit, but yeah, so we're out here in Nokomis. Again, part of it was there's a few reasons for us to be out here. One was it's not where I'm from or anything, but we're seeking a small community to move to and to start a business. Nokomis is right in the middle of the province, right between the 2 major markets of Regina and Saskatoon. There's a lot of affordability, not only in housing, but also to incentives to start a business. And really, when we got into it, I knew I didn't want to do the tap room model. I think doing a brewery and a tap room, that's 2 businesses. And being just me, I just wanted to run one business. So really, and it's all about brewing beer. That's where my skill set and where my passion is in brewing beer, not in running a bar, so to speak, or a tap room. So, but when you are in an urban center, it's important to have that tap room model, I think, just to pay the high lease. But we have So we focused on more on the production model. We have always been open to the public for off sale, and then as the SLG's policies change, we we were allowed to begin selling beer by the glass and on premise. So we didn't have any space allocated for that, so it's limited to an outdoor kind of this little outdoor area with about 6 picnic tables. So yeah, we see people come through in the summer, and they might be familiar with their beer from drinking it on tap or picking up in cans and somewhere in the province, and make a road trip out of it to see where the beer is being brewed, and have one on site. And so it's become a little bit somewhat a destination brewery in a way, but also we see people making little detours on their drive up to the lake or what have you to come visit us. So
I know the Lady Rebels Brew Club, they came out and had a great time in Nokomis. The members still mentioned to me, "Oh, we had such a good time. We can't wait to go back. Everybody needs to check out Nokomis."
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. We always like to be a good host when we have groups come out. We hosted the SCBA Collab Brew a few years back, and I think that event was pretty legendary. I booked the curling rink and held a Brewers Bonspiel and had a great meal catered, and that's kind of what Collab Brews have been in the past. They've just been a reason for friends and colleagues to get together and have some beers and have some food and fun. It's brewing the beer is kind of secondary to those collabs. I hope we can host again in the near future and get that rink booked again, and re-earn the title with the Bonspiel there. So my rink took home the garage sale trophy that I picked up, but I can't wait to defend that title.
A few moments ago, you had mentioned that you guys were trying to expand as the market grew, or you're trying to match what demand is. From my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, purchasing new equipment and expanding as a brewery is one of the most risky moments for a brewery. To take on that much, maybe debt or risk to install the new stuff to disrupt your production, it's very terrifying for a certain size of brewery. How have you guys managed?
Well, we more so did it in bits and pieces, and like I said, it wasn't more to create volume and then look for the sales after. It was more, we can't keep up with the demand. We need to increase our production volume to meet that demand. And as that demand grew, then it seemed a lot less risky because it was like the sales were already there, I guess. So, and really with expansions go, there are some that are more expensive than others. But if you have the room, fermenters aren't too bad. Like really, like all things considering, they are expensive, but everything's expensive at a brewery. And really, fermenters add your capacity, and the return on the investment is very quick. And it's a lot of it's just to crunch the numbers and see how long will it take for the investment to pay off, and are we sticking our necks out too far, or just sort of doing it at a slower pace and an affordable one as well. I guess it's kind of how I grew up in a way. I was always taught to save up when you wanted something. When I was a kid and you wanted a new BMX bike, you save all your paper route money and your allowance and cut some lawns or whatever all summer, and then you get to go out and buy a new BMX bike or a new skateboard. And that's kind of how I've always gone about it. I know. Yeah, it's maybe a different way than others, but I've always been one to not stick out my neck too far as debt goes and whatnot. So it's always put us in a position that we can, we're not taking on a huge amount of debt or having the stress of loan repayment. It's typically kind of, it's been, we've tried to do it with those little stresses possible, I guess, but it's always stressful, always shit goes sideways all the time. It's like you always, like every day, every year, every month, every week, there's always something in this industry. Yeah.
It's
like literally, yeah, literally I'm hopping in the truck after this is done and not driving to meet a supplier to get new auger flighting for our grain handling system that broke down today. So it's there's always twists and turns. We've dealt with fabricators going into receivership and losing huge deposits on tanks. It seems there's a time I thought that I'd never have luck go my way. As always, a lot of bumps along the road and curveballs thrown at you all the time. And this past year has been a global pandemic that we got to deal with. So it's always, it's never ending. There's never a time that you're idle or complacent. It's always challenges, always curveballs being thrown at you, always shit going sideways. Yeah.
Hearing you talk about your approach to finances kind of makes me connect the dots between what I perceive your approach to beer being. I see you guys rolling out a small amount of really well executed beers. It's not fast and furious. It seems very pragmatic and methodical, and executed in a way that no attention to detail was missed. And I feel like those philosophies apply to both the money management side and the brew side. Am I accurate to say that?
I definitely think with any aspect of life or business or brewing, it's all in the details for sure. Like I sweat over the details with everything, whether it be and luckily I have colleagues that are the same. Our graphic designer is very detail oriented, a perfectionist at what she does, and also just and details of the beer recipes, of the production side, thinking of everything, every little detail along the way, whether it be, how you're going to execute it or what have you. And, the beauty of beer is that it's a slight manipulation of very simple and basic ingredients, right? Like, at the heart of beer, there's just 4 basic ingredients, plus, obviously plus others, but for the most part, it's the manipulation of these 4 ingredients, and what you can do with that is mind blowing, really. And so that's why I think you see in our beers that we brew and we choose to brew in our recipe designs. We like to highlight that. I'll often look towards yeast or microbes or before going to a pantry of adjuncts, for flavor. What the ester production of yeast will contribute to a beer. It's way beyond alcohol and CO2 production, right? It's like unfermented beer doesn't taste very good, right? It's it's just wort. It's the yeast that makes it come to life, and it's all those esters, all those chemical compounds that are created through fermentation, through long-term aging and souring with Brett or other microbes that can take beer to a whole nother level, which is really fascinating to me, and why we have this whole barrel program, mixed fermentation program going, because these beers don't make any money. They're hard to sell, right? But they're definitely a passion project because it's what excites me and our team as brewers, at all the potential that exists in fermentation and the manipulation, brew house techniques, wort production, and cellaring. All are key to brewing great, interesting, and unique beer.
Your oatmeal stout and Satori are probably two of the ones that I'm most excited about, but I picked up something new to me. I haven't tried it yet, called Evening Star. Can you tell me a little bit about this one?
Sure, yeah. So that was just released quite recently. There's going to be a little flurry of barrel aged and mixed fermentation beers coming out in the next few months. This is the first of those, Evening Star. So it's a barrel aged sour beer. It's the barrels that previously held our Satori, actually. So so there are some, I think it almost carries over, like the ghost of that beer is like kind of lives in the barrel and has moved on to this beer. And then, so it was in barrels for a little over a year, and then it was blended with local Saskatoon berries in a fruiting tank for almost a year. So it's about 2 years in the works, that beer, and bottle condition them as well. So natural carbonation through re-fermentation in the bottle. So it's been in the bottle for a couple months as well, and that will tend to develop as it's in the bottle as well. It's the first of many beers that we're excited to release this year, and fairly limited quantities. I think Evening Star has, I think we did about 160 cases of that beer. We have some other foeder beers coming out right away. We have two 2,000-liter cognac foeders. Those are large oak vessels for aging. And they're 20 hectoliters each. So we usually yield about twice that. We'll yield about 300 to 350 cases out of those. So they'll be a little more abundant, I guess. We just, we have one coming out this week, actually, a Berliner Weiss out of one of our foeders. We just bottled one out of another foeder that'll be released in about a month after bottle conditioning is completed. So, yeah.
I love that you have a package date and a Best Buy date on the cap. I love your commitment. Like, that's saying I'm not screwing around. I'm telling you exactly all the information you need to know as a consumer. And when I went to the store, there were only 4 bottles left on the shelf. The guy at Sobeys was like, yeah, we can't keep this one on the shelf. It's flying. I kind of wish that I'd bought more so I could age some in my basement and just have this one for today.
Yeah, well, hopefully they'll order more and you can go back. We still have quite a bit at the brewery. It's not like it's all gone out. I think we've only just delivered it the last couple of weeks. So,
do you mind if I crack this and give you my first impression?
Go for it. Yeah, get that close to the mic there, Matt.
We're gonna get that nice pour audio. It's kind of got like a rose gold color to it, hey? It's much brighter than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's a fairly muted hue. Like, we didn't go crazy with the Saskatoons, and Saskatoons are also fairly subtle flavor.
And I have to say to the audience, I did pull this beer out about half an hour ago. So I did let it come up in temperature a bit. I'm not drinking it super crisp, fridge cold, because I want to get more of those aromas and those flavors when I have my first sip.
For sure.
That nose is it's not super aggressive. It's got a nice berry quality to it. It kind of just reminds me of like champagne or wine with like a fruit addition.
Yeah, I thought sort of on first tastings out of the blending tank of this beer, I thought it had a lot of like kind of rosé qualities, Chardonnay rosé or something. You know, it has a slight tannic quality to it. Again, the fruit's not too heavy.
It's got that classic kind of like that little vinegar bite, but it's nicely balanced with that fruit. I don't feel like my tongue doesn't feel super hairy. It's a nice start to finish kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not bracingly sour for sure.
Right. Not at all like a slap in the mouth, It's damn. I just gotta have a second sip. Oh fuck, is that good? Like for two sips, I didn't feel like my palate got shocked. Sometimes when I'm digging into barrel aged sour, I expect, the first sip's gonna hurt me a little bit, and then the second sip I can get into it. This is I dig this. Fuck, that's good, man.
Thanks.
Oh, I'm so excited to share this with my friends post COVID. We're gonna have like a beer tasting, and this is gonna be one of the ones on the list.
Great. Yeah, it's exciting stuff. Like I said, it's a passion project for us at the brewery, more so than a moneymaker. So I hopefully people will go beyond the can section at their local retailer and check out the bottles. I think there's a lot of beers to miss out on if you're not browsing the bottle section.
This is kind of like
a lot of people.
It kind of feels like a Beer Geeks beer, but I think anyone could appreciate it, including wine drinkers.
Oh yeah, I think I do think that's where, I don't know, maybe the target market for these kinds of beers would be, are people that don't necessarily in quotes like beer. They do offer quite a different flavor profile and nuances that a pale ale or an IPA might not give you. And again, but it is exciting that it's beer. Like it's brewed with, just your standard basic beer ingredients and with some fruit added, right? But really it's the cellaring and it's the mixed fermentation. There's a plethora of microbes that have contributed to the development of this beer for sure, as with all of our barrel aged beers.
Mark and I often talk about the intention of the outcome. When it comes to Evening Star, do you think you achieved the intention of your goal, or was it more of a happy surprise to get where you were?
Well, I guess with mixed fermentation beers, you're certainly leaving a lot up to chance, right? There is a lot out of the brewer's control, which is also fascinating about these types of beers. I think, that saying where brewers make wort, yeast makes beer, it definitely applies to mixed fermentation beers. A lot happens over the course of the cellaring process and wood aging. And then in package as well, like they can continue to develop, right? And you try to, I guess you put some parameters in motion by the recipe design and then on blending as well. You put some parameters in motion, but there's a lot left up to what the microbes are going to do for you. So, which is great. And you have to also be, a lot of breweries that have large cellar programs, they do and rightly so, prepare you that you might have to dump some on occasion, dump a barrel. We've dumped a couple barrels ourselves that just didn't stand up, that we didn't even want to put into a blend. And you have to accept that there's inherent risks involved in doing these kinds of beers.
I know we've dumped a couple barrels too. The brewers just said, this does not meet our standard of excellence. We would never serve this to a customer. But on the other hand, every single time they've done something barrel aged, it's so exciting. And I always stack yours with ours, like do a side by side, because I feel like yours are so consistent that it's a good comparison to understand what I'm seeking when I'm looking for these styles of beer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your oatmeal stout, our oatmeal stout. I'll do like 5 different oatmeal stouts, and I always have yours in the lineup as like a bellwether because I understand it enough, because I drink it enough to then use as a yardstick against the other beers that are in the lineup. I don't know if that's fair or not, but that's just how confident I am in the product. That's not really a question. That's just me fanboying.
Yeah.
What else are you drinking? I saw you lifting a glass there.
So yeah, I decided to grab a bottle before I came out to the house here to do this interview. So I grabbed our Weiss and C. It's a traditional Berliner Weiss that we're releasing this week. It won't start hitting stores until next week. It'll be out on the delivery truck, but it'll be available at the brewery this week. So this is it's a I say traditional Berliner Weiss because there's a lot of breweries that are doing kettle soured wheat beers and calling them a Berliner Weiss. But traditionally, Berliner Weisses were brewed with Brettanomyces. So that's what this is, a mixed fermentation beer. It's equal parts barley, raw wheat, and malted wheat. So 66% wheat in the beer. So it's a lot of wheat going on. It's only 3.2%. So it's very light and refreshing. But the contribution of the aging in the foeder and the Brettanomyces add such complexity that it's hard to believe it's such a low ABV beer. It's so bottle conditioned as well. 500 ml bottles. This is the first beer to be released out of one of our foeders that we picked up last year. The most recent expansion we did at the brewery was a big investment into our wood cellar. So we're up to about 40 barrels currently, and 2 20 hectoliter foeders, and a couple blending tanks, and then and the space to hold all that stuff, I guess. This is the first beer to be released out of that expansion last year. The barrels are still, we have some that are coming to maturity that have been, we've had beer in them for over a year now. So they're getting close to being able to be blended. So, I think, so it's investments we made over a year ago, but we'll now start to see on regular rotation, as we package, refill, brew other beers to refill the foeders or barrels and what have you. So it was important for us to grow our barrel program to have that blending capacity, because previously our barrel aged beers, we didn't really have a lot of blending capacity because we only had a couple dozen or maybe less than 20 barrels. So you don't have a lot to pick and choose from, and half of those barrels were for imperial stout. So on the sour side, we just had a handful of barrels. So blending is key to doing a lot of these beers, the barrel aged beers. Not in the case of the fruiter beers, but we're kind of doing. So there's kind of 2 different beers that are coming out. There's the foeder, so we're doing more like traditional styles and farmhouse styles in the foeders, and then more the barrel aged sours out of the barrels, which will be blended to taste, basically.
I kind of wanted to give the audience an opportunity to understand the context of how long it takes a beer. For Rebellion, our standard core lineup of beers take about 10 days from tank to packaging.
Kettle to can.
Right, kettle to can. And then when you say compare that to 365 days or 650 days, or 3 years, even just to get on the shelf. And you ask a consumer to say, I know you're used to paying between $12 and $15 for a 4-pack, but hear me out. Here's a really special bottle that took us 3 years to make, and we're going to ask you to pay $12 to $15 for a single bottle. And it's like, oof, they feel that. But once you understand, this took 2.5 to 3 years to make, and it's so special. And all those variables that you just mentioned, it's like, this is special. And it's like once in a lifetime, maybe twice in a lifetime, you'll ever get to taste this again, because that bacteria is evolving. Those bugs are changing in the barrels, and we can't science the heck out of those barrels to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So I marvel at your commitment. I'm humbled by your commitment to that long term.
Having increased barrels and squirreling them away and forgetting about helps for sure. And because soon as we've been able to grow, we'll be able to be doing blends of 1, 2, and 3 year barrels together, but yeah, it is still hard for people to pay $12 or $15 a year, but by comparison, $12 to $15 won't get you a very good bottle of wine. So,
right.
People don't bat an eye at paying $30, $40, $50 for a bottle of wine. And so I think there's comparatives there for sure. But yeah, it's going to be, I feel like when, I don't know, if we skip back to 2014 when we started, how much explaining and talking I had to do just about what a growler is, what an IPA is, what craft beer is, all this stuff. I'd talk about this stuff till my jaw was aching on the education side. Now it's, everyone's tried an IPA and gotten a growler fill or whatever. So now we're almost going down this path of like trying to, I'll be explaining things all over again, what goes into brew these beers, what they're all about. So yeah, there's definitely going to have to be education to be done, I guess, as us and hopefully more breweries release more cool stuff like this. I know Rebellion had to make room for stainless and got rid of some barrels or downsized their barrel cellar, but I hope hopefully Mark gets a barrel cellar happening again or a larger one going, and hopefully some other breweries we'll see doing them as well. And because I do think, it's just like craft beer in general 7 years ago is like, the more of us doing it, the more presence it has on the marketplace. Right now, sometimes I feel like our bottles are so lonely over in that, away from the cans, off in the corner, no one notices them. They're kind of forgotten, and in the shops, everyone's just like all about aluminum cans. Where are they? And they'll hear about these other beers we're doing and be like, oh, I didn't see it at the liquor store. I was like, well, you got to go to those, that other place where those brown glass things are. Yeah, it's wipe the dust off of them or something. But I do think that if you're passing over the bottle section of your liquor store, you're missing out on a lot of great beers. To think that there's a lot of people have never had an Orval or something would be, that's a bummer. Everyone should get out and have an Orval.
Right. I saw a guy posting just last week about finding Cantillon bottles, and he was like, oh my God, these are cheap. You can't find these this cheap. And the guy at the store was like, well, I'm just getting rid of them because nobody buys them.
Yeah. Where was this?
Right. I think it was Sobeys. And I think the guy just said, I'll take the whole case. Just give it to me. Boom. Took the whole case at once.
I'm going to get on the phone right when we're done here. Call around. Yeah. Cantillon is you don't see it in Saskatchewan very often, but there's a lot of there's a lot of great beers on the. But it'd be great to have a big selection of Saskatchewan craft beers in bottles of unique stuff. Not to say I wouldn't, there's nothing wrong with cans. We can all of our other stuff, and I'd even consider canning these if we had 2 canning lines. It's just the risk of cross contamination is too high to do these beers through our canning line. So we have a completely separate packaging setup for these, and and then there's the bottle conditioning element as well. Though I do hear of breweries doing can conditioning for natural carbonation in a can.
I haven't heard about that. That sounds a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know because it's easy to find out the pressure rating of a bottle, how many bars it can hold, and you can calculate how many volumes of CO2 you can get into it. But a can, I don't know if that data's out there.
We've spent so much time talking about your barrel age program, but I feel we need to give a little bit of love to the rest of your beers. What's your guys' number 1 seller right now?
Well, we just started brewing our dry hop kettle sour again. So as soon as we start brewing that, it usually flies out the door for a while. It's the same recipe, the same beer as what was known as our summer kettle sour previously. So it was a seasonal, but we've rebranded it as our dry hop kettle sour, and to offer it year round, to have it in our lineup year round, rather than just doing them for a few months. So I don't know if that's going to happen. So right now we can't keep up with it. And it's flying out there, but I think it's typical as soon as the weather starts getting warm, people want those light crushable beers. And our session ale as well we're doing the same. We're going to introduce that into our core lineup. So going from 4 to 6 beers, available year round. So both those are, we're brewing on a pretty steady basis and getting them out into the world. And, it's still, our IPA is still, we brew it all the time. It seems like that was never we can't brew it too much, so it's always on the production schedule at any given time. There's always 2 or 3. There's out of our 12 fermenters, it's usually occupying at least 2 or 3 of them at a time. And our brown ale, which we've been brewing since day one.
It's
I never thought
fucking deadly, man. I love your brown ale.
Thanks. Yeah, it's I never would have expected it to be like a flagship. It quickly became a flagship, I guess. At the beginning, we actually didn't even know what our flagship beers were going to be, or if we were going to have any. I had this idea in my head. I just kind of brew whatever I wanted and just do it that way. But quickly realized that a lot of bars and restaurants wanted the same beer on tap continuously and wanted to print it into their menu and whatnot. We quickly kind of settled on a few beers to offer year round. And the brown ale is one of it. It's on tap in a lot of places and still sells well for us to this day. And then our other core beers are, I always feel like our pale ale is often overlooked. It's not on tap in a lot of places, so a lot of people haven't even tried it. But it's, it's a classic old school pale ale. When I got into craft beer 20 years ago, I guess now, there's beers like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale that were like the benchmark beers, right? And I still love Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. Having, those kind of classic style pale ales that let Cascade hops shine, they'll have some caramel malt in them now, which is something that so many brewers shy away from now. It's like putting caramel malt into a beer is a sin or something. And in these weird modern times, but I really, that's typically my go-to. It's nicely balanced. It has some nice toasty notes to it and caramel notes and nice hop aroma and flavor without being too aggressive. Just well balanced, well rounded, kind of just classic style. I don't know. I guess I'm a sucker for the classics, I guess. In a way, like we're as you probably aware, like we typically don't jump on bandwagons and like try to keep up with fads in beer necessarily. I always want to brew what I enjoy, comes first almost, and a lot of it is. A lot of my favorites are still like the classics. But yeah, I had a discussion with someone recently about, kind of talked about the difference between trends and fads. I think there are important trends to be aware of as a brewer, like there is a
Sorry, your mic cut out there for a sec. You said there's a trend towards which?
There's a trend towards low ABV and or non-alcoholics that seem to be, that I think are consumer trends that need to be paid attention to by brewers, and I think that differs from a fad, right? Which are maybe things that are like very whimsical and quite possibly short-lived and not driven by like overall consumer trends.
I know when we first started, you were seeing a lot of 6%, 8% beers from us. And quietly over time, you've seen a lot more sessionable beers, usually hovering around 4%, some as low as 3%, but not as big and wild as they used to. We still have them, but the real movers have been a lower ABV kind of beer.
For sure. Yeah, and that's and I think that's not. Yeah, I think that's something that the consumer demand for those styles or those for those types of beers is that's part of an overall consumer trend. It's not something that's driven by like a gimmick or something.
I know you guys said you're not chasing fads or trends, but what is next for Nokomis?
Well, a lot of it what we've covered is this commitment to a wood cellar and mixed fermentation program. And bottle releases. We don't have any expansion plans in the works right now. It's the first time in a long time that there hasn't been like something going on, and even the past year we've been more investing in our lab and stuff like that to stuff that's not as glamorous or as giant stainless tanks, but that are crucial to putting out high quality beers. So I don't know. It's just we're doing we're piloting some non-alcoholic beers right now, like on just trials. Just to be looking at that as a possibility down the road. But we're doing it in our own way, I guess, so to speak, not not through a distillation method, but through fermentation. So brewing with maltose and maltotriose negative yeasts. yeah, I don't know I guess we just take it as we blew past our 5-year plan like after year 2, and that's been improvised heavily ever since. So I never know what's around the corner, but I feel like despite COVID, I feel like the brewery's at a really good place right now. We've got a great team. We're able to pay the bills and pay our employees well and have great benefits. We're able to invest in brewing beers that interest us as brewers, not ones that are just like to drive money into the bank account. I feel like I'm not working nearly as much as I was early on, which is, for mental and physical health reasons, super important. Because I think I was, a couple of years ago, I was getting very close to being burnt out. So it's good we have a team that like has very important roles at the brewery, and so that's sort of stuff that's been all part of the growth of the brewery, right? To get to a position where we're brewing enough beer to be able to employ a good team and to pay all the bills and to invest in cool projects and continue to make investments in quality and still maintain innovation. It feels like it's at a good place despite everything that's been going on this past year. But nevertheless,
I got to tell you, I just got my shot yesterday. I'm still on cloud 9, feeling super great. Like some people are saying, oh, they've got they're feeling a little achy or something. I'm like, hell no, man. You can't bring me down off this cloud. And I think bucket list, I want to hit Nokomis this summer. I've got my vaccine now. There's nothing that can stop me. And I know you're getting yours, you said tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning, you bet. Yeah,
so I'm
excited.
Just so jacked, and it's like craft beer's back on, baby.
Yeah, and I look forward to the day where it's really tough to see a lot of our clients struggling, and in the hospitality industry, and our colleagues and friends. So it's just been devastating on that scene, it's gonna be great when I'm really hoping for a summer where we can be enjoying beers on patios and drinking beer out of kegs, not cans. It's because it'll be something to look forward to, I guess, and that's it's been a long time coming. It's been a crazy year and a stressful one, and I'm stoked that I'm getting my jab tomorrow morning and seeing others as well. I think it's all hit our age group now, so it's like everyone around me is getting vaccines, and I can't wait for all my staff to be vaccinated as well, of course. So I hope it's a great summer, and would be happy to have you out to the brewery and show you around.
I am so thankful that Nokomis has made it through this COVID year. I think it would have been an awful blow to our local scene if you guys hadn't survived, hadn't made it. I tell everybody, look, you need to get Nokomis beer in your hands. If you want to understand Saskatchewan craft beer, part of that fabric is your guys' beer. And I know I'm fanboying and I'm being over the top and effuse, but people need to go out and get your stuff.
Yeah, I would agree, of course, that they need to go buy our beer.
Well, thank you for your time today, man.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, Matt. It was great to do this, and I hope you had a long playing cassette in your machine, because we definitely, I can talk about beer for ages.
Rebels, Thanks for listening today. If you have any questions or comments about this episode, be sure to join us on our brand new Facebook group page, the Rebellion Brewing Podcast. I'm going to include links in the show notes to all things Nokomis, so you can check them out. I'm also proud to let you know that we're members of the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. It's a one-stop shop for tons of locally produced shows from across our province. You can find them at saskpodcastnetwork.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Untappd so you don't miss out on the latest in Sask craft beer news. Thank you for joining the Rebellion.